اوكي good morning. مين عنده presentation اليوم؟ مين عنده presentation اليوم؟
أنا دكتور دانيا.
دانيا؟ تفضل. تقدر تبدأ يا دانيا. Yes.
نعم
تقدر تبدأ بقول.
تمام. من عند phonological differences.
Yes.
Doctor, I will ask you about my presentation. I will read the all paragraph and then I will presentation it. Okay?
Okay.
Phonological differences. Today we are talking about the all dialects in the word and the difference between them. We will start for phonological differences. A comparison of the R drop and other dialects in relation is main phonological differences among dialects of American English. This variation created difficulties for us in writing chapter 5, chapter phonetics, where we wished to alter the different sounds of English by using keywords in which the sounds occur. As mentioned, some people pronounce coach with vowel O and coat with A, whereas others pronounce them both cat. Some pronounce marry and marry the same. Others pronounce the three words difficultly as a marry, and still others pronounce just two of them the same. In the South and North, pajamas is pronounced pajama with the tense A, but a pajamas with the lax A in the Midlands. Many speakers of American English pronounce pen and pen indicantly, whereas others pronounce the first pen and sound pen. So in this paragraph, we can see the difference between the writing of the word and pronounce about it. For example, when we see Mary and Mary, sometimes we occur in different way, but the same pronunciation as sometimes. In another dialects, we can pronounce the word in different way to write it. Okay? Can you need to add something, Doctor?
Okay, then here we are talking about pronunciation.
Yes.
The drop of R, we remember we talked last time about the drop of R here. This shows the phonological differences among dialects of American English. For example, now some words here, for example, caught.
Yes, as example,
Some
Mary
people
and
pronounce it as caught with the vowel A and caught. Caught with A. Then a ka or A. Cat or cat. And, the same way, different pronunciation. You can other people pronounce both cat, cat. Some other people, Mary and Mary the same. Yeah, they can say Mary, for example, Mary, the same, the same pronunciation.
same way.
Also في عندنا other pronounce three words differently. يعني نفس مثلا الماري والمري they are برضه pronounced differently. مثلا هنا Mary and Mary. طبعا عندنا إذا some people pronounce those the same. في other people pronounce those differently. برضه في عندنا كمان other people pronounce two of them the same. Okay. For example, south and northeast pajamas is pronounced as pajamas with the tense A. But pajamas with the lax A in Midland. إذا هنا في عندنا northwest they pronounce pajamas with tense A, but in Midland they pronounce pajamas with lax A. So هنا في عندنا المهم يعني في عندنا differences in what? In the pronunciation of some words. Does this change the meaning?
No.
No. إذا فينا بس إيش؟ change in pronunciation according to the areas. According
Just change
to
the pronunciation and
yes.
the dialects in other country.
Yes.
The pronunciation of British, English or many dialects of it differ in systemic ways for pronunciation in many dialects of American English. In a survey of hundreds of American British speakers connected via in the chart, 48% of the American pronounce the mad consonant, the luxury, and voiceless, whereas 96% of British pronounce them as a voiced. Luxury. 64% of the American pronounce the first vowel in data as E and 35% as an A, as opposed to 92% of the British British producing in the E and only 2% with A. The most constant difference occurred in the placement of primary stress, with the most American putting stress on the first syllable and most British on second or third posyllabic. Word like great, applicable, primable, and laboratory. So in this paragraph, we can see the dialects in English may be different in many respects from the British dialects, of course. And also we can see another example to different American and dialect British when we talk about get great, applicable, formable, and laboratory. The United Kingdom also has many.
The most difference between American and British pronunciation. The most important difference, or consistent difference.
The consonant differ occurred.
American, they place primary stress.
Stress was the most American putting the first syllable.
Then most American put stress when on the first syllable. But in the British, when on the second,
on the second
or third.
Third.
In polysyllabic. Then they say yes. بالامريكان طبعا في عندنا هنا how many syllable؟ cigarette. طبعا الامريكان بيقولوا cigarette. Okay.
Cigarette. Stress in the first.
Cigarette. Okay. وفي عندنا change the place of stress. Applicable. وفي عندنا two syllables. American stress applicable. بينما البريتش say applicable. نفس الشيء مع affordable and laboratory. إذا American main difference between American and British pronunciation in American put the stress on the first syllable.
Yes, in the first syllable, but the British on the second or the third.
Polysyllabic. Polysyllabic يعني more than one syllable. Okay.
Yes. The United Kingdom also has many regional dialects. The British vowels described in the phonetic chapter are used by speakers of the dialect called RB for the received pronunciation because it received accepted in the court of the monarch. In these dialects, H is pronounced at the beginning of both head and herb, whereas in the most American English dialects, H is not pronounced herb, in which is pronounced in American, such as a house pronounced as house. We had hold H, and hero pronounced hero. A is true the origin of certain American dialects. Many of the regional dialects of British, such as the West Country dialect, the East Engl dialects, and the Yorkshire dialects are not different from the standard dialects spoken in London, but are dialect description in earlier words that exist alongside London English far back the 11th century. Watch the Harry Potter moves here somewhat we have been discussing via British English. In this paragraph, we can see another example of different dialects between the American and British dialects. For example, the H letter. In American, we can see at the beginning of the word in head and herb.
Is it pronounced?
Yes, in the first H, in the first letter, as we mentioned in the previous paragraph. In this, we pronounce the H letter, but in British language, we saw sometimes don't occur the H letter. Hold it sometimes, as in house, we pronounce house. As in hero, we pronounce hero. To understand what was discussed in the previous paragraph, we can follow the old Harry Potter stories to understand the difference.
Okay.
Continue, Doctor.
Yes.
English is the most widely spoken language in the world as the second language. It is the national language of several countries, including the United States, large parts of Canada, the British Isles, Australia, and New Zealand. For many years, it was the official language in countries that were once colonies of the Britain, including India, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, and other Anglophone countries of Africa. There are many other phonological differences in the various dialects of English used around the globe. In this paragraph, we can see that another dialects can be different in other country.
Mhm.
And one country has the main dialects, for example.
Yes.
Do you need to add something, Doctor, in this
No.
topic?
This is عبارة عن general statement and it's not important. Yeah. And English is widely spoken in the world نعرفها كلها.
Yes, and some country has the different dialects.
Okay.
Now we left to the lexical difference.
Then here we talked about phonological differences. Phonological
Yes.
يعني شو يعني؟ The pronunciation of words. شفنا احنا في عندنا بأمريكا and British they pronounce words differently.
Yes, Doctor, this topic that's mean what we have in the phonetic class.
Yes, phonetic class, yes. And it's talking about pronunciation of words in both American and English. American English.
The phonetic alphabets writing of the word.
Yes.
Now we'll left to the lexical differences. Regional dialects may differ in the word people use for the same object, as well as in phonology. Hans Kernth, an equivalent dialogist, in his paper, "What do you call it?" asked, "Do you call it a pile or packet? Do you draw water for the force from the spigot? Do you pull down the flints, the shuttles, or the curtain when it gets dark? Do you well the baby, or do you ride the old it in a baby carriage, a buggy and coach, or a cab? People take lift to the first floor or second floor in England, but elevator in the United States, they follow up with a petrol, no gas in London. In British public school, in private, you have to pay. And if students show up, they're wearing pants and their parents, instead of treasure pants, he would be sent home to get dressed.
Okay.
If you ask for a tonic to Boston, you will get a drink called soda or soda pop in Los Angeles. Ice cream cones could be carved in jams in Boston and sprinkles in New York. And freeway in Los Angeles is truly New York. Is a brickway in New Jersey. A mountain in England and experienced travel in other dialects areas. So we can see the different
about lexical differences. What do you mean by lexical differences?
Sometimes may different what people mean.
لما نقول في عندنا regional dialects differ what in their lexical what aspect يعني they have different names for the same thing. مثلا do you call a pail or a bucket? يعني they are although two words have the same meaning, but people use pail and people use bucket. Do you draw from a faucet or from a spigot? نفس الشيء. People use faucet and people use spigot. Do you pull down the blinds or the shades? People use the blinds and other people use the shades or the curtains. So do you wheel the baby or do you ride it or roll it? كل واحد different words is the same meaning. It's a baby carriage, it's a baby carriage or a buggy or a coach or a cab. يعني different words for the same meaning. مثلا people take lift first floor. هذا وين؟ England. بأمريكا يستخدموا elevator.
Elevator in the United States.
They fill up with petrol. بده طبعا وين؟ بامريكا،
That's
لكن
not that's
بريتن
mean not
بيقولوا
bad.
جاز. اوكي. يعني بريتن
Yes.
بابليك سكول شو معناته بريتن؟ برايفت سكول يعني.
Private.
Not to pay. هنا برضه the student showed up there wearing pants,
Wearing pants.
underpants, instead of trousers, pants. إذا what difference إيش؟ بين countries. استخدام إيش؟
Yes, different words in the same.
different words for the same thing. Okay.
Yeah.
On the last paragraph here, we talk about lexical meaning of words in the same country. مثلا tonic in Boston or America, you will get a drink called soda or soda pop. Los Angeles نفس الشيء. Ice cream cones can be covered in jimmies or jimmies in Boston. Okay. وسبرينكلز in New York. إذا هنا عندنا ايس كريم لوس أنجلوس وجيميز بوسطن سبرينكلز نيويورك.
And freeway in
لوس
Angeles.
أنجلوس وثروي in نيويورك وباركويل in نيو جيرسي. شايفين نفس the same country في عندنا different ايش؟ different words for the same meaning. For the
Yeah.
same thing. إذا هنا في عندنا differences في lexical differences between ايش؟ between the words in the same country, between the words in what country and another country.
Yes, doctor, in this paragraph we know and we see the different word in the same meaning because the dialects is different from another area.
Yes, but يعني when use for example, I take the lift to the first floor in Britain. America you say I take the elevator.
Yeah.
But both words are the same. They have the same meaning. نفس الشيء بيقول مثلا I fill up my car with petrol. هاي بأمريكا. Britain بيقول I fill my car with gas. Okay. هنا the same different words with ايش have the same meaning. Okay. بالنسبة ايش lexical differences.
The lexical differences. هلا we left to the syntax different.
Syntactic. شو يعني syntactic؟
المعنى النحوي.
يعني grammatical.
Yeah.
Grammatical differences. Yes.
Dialects can also be distinguished by systemic syntax different in most American dialects. Syntax may be conjuncted as following. Now we have the example about the syntax difference. Number one, John will eat and Mary will eat. John and Mary will eat. In the Ozark dialect of southern Missouri, the following conjunct is also possible. John will eat and Mary will eat. John will eat and Mary.
On high example on John will eat and Mary will eat, we cannot use it in English. شو بنقول؟
Yes.
John and
John
Mary will
and
eat.
Mary
يعني هم
will
يعني
eat.
سميها compound subject لإيش؟ John and Mary.
Yes,
يعني
the
we can't
subject
use two verbs in the same sentence.
yes,
في
then
لهجة اسمها أوزارك هاي في صدر ميزوري شو بيقولوا John will eat and Mary. اوكي هون شلون؟ هنا John and Mary will eat.
and Mary.
John will eat and Mary.
Will
هون في عندنا
Mary.
syntactic difference between
Yes.
American وبتوين طبعا كلهم أمريكان هنا.
Other dialects.
دايركت في صدر ميزوري عبارة عن دايركت هنا في صدر ميزوري. They have difference what in syntactic structure. Yes.
Tamam. In one, the baby will eat in the first conjunct is deleted, while in two, the VB in the second conjunct is deleted. Most dialects of English allowed deletions of only the first conjunct, and those dialects, John will eat and Mary, is ungrammatical. The other dialects differ, allowing the second VB to delete. Speakers of some American dialects say, have them come early, where other words say, have them to come early. Many speakers of the latter dialects also exhibit double the model auxiliary verbs. So the expression like he might, could, do it, or you might, should. Go are grammatical. Go home are grammatical. Most dialects of English may contain no more than one model. Some of the dialects permit double model. Example, Malaysian English also exhibit double object. Example, I coach me a fish, and a prefix with a cursive, he come a running. Several distinguishing syntax contribute to battle of syntax isologists that separate these regional dialects. So in this paragraph, we saw the different lexical meaning about the sentence, and in this way, we can distinguish by the grammatical or ungrammatical sentence. And the different rule in dialects, Boston and New York, for example, they have the different way to rule to make the sentence. As in, have you come early or have them to come early.
إذا
Another
في عندنا to
example.
هنا and have them come early, have them to
Yeah.
come early. يعني في عندنا difference بالsyntactic structure. Yes.
Yes. Another example, he might could do and you might should go home.
هنا في عندنا double ايش؟ double ايش؟ double modal auxiliaries شو هم؟ might and could.
Might and could.
might say might could نقول يا might يا could.
Yes.
Okay. هون في عندنا double ايش؟ doubling للمودال auxiliaries. برضو might should. We don't say might should, we say يا might يا should. Okay.
Yes. Not another of them.
dialects بتكون acceptable. Okay.
Okay. Primary double models, like I comb my fish, he come are running. There's several distinguish between the pyramid double models.
And they use a as prefixing. He came a with the progressive. He came running.
Yes.
Okay. يعني in English طبعا we don't use he came running. We will say he came running. But they use a here as what? As a prefix. لما عليه progressive اللي هو represent ايش continuous. Yes.
In some American English dialects, the pronoun I occurs when me would be used in other dialects. The difference is a syntactically condition morphological difference. Dialect number 1 and dialect number 2.
Yes.
Dialect number 1 between you and I. Dialect number 1 between you and me.
Between you and I, another dialect between you and
yes,
me.
when we use I. Want he let you and I swim. Want he let I swim. Dialect number 2. Want he let you and me swim. We mentioned you and me in the previous paragraph, which we used in it. The use of I in this structure is only permitted in conjoined and P, as in stress and grammatical. Sentence shows, won't he let me swim? However, is grammatical in both dialects. Dialect number 1 is growing, and this forms to becoming standard English spoken by TV, anarchists, political leaders, and university professor, although language but still another used. In British English, the pronoun it is in the sentence I could have done, I can delete it. British speakers say I could have done, which is not accordance with the syntax rules of American English. American English, however, permit the deletion of done it. And Americans say I could have, which does not occur with the British syntax rules. About 1/3 on the students reading this textbook will not accept the sentence John promised Mary to leave as grammatical, while 2/3 will. With the meaning John promised Mary that John would leave. We understand this, John will leave. Despite such differences, we are still able to understand speaker to other English dialects, although the regional dialects differ in pronunciation, vocabulary, and syntax rules. The difference minor when compared with the totality of the grammar. Dialects respectively share most rules and vocabulary, which examples why the dialects of the language are mutually indelible. Doctor, this paragraph that summarize what I talked about at the beginning of the class. We talked about the dialects in English can be different in the phonological difference, the lexical difference, and the syntax difference in several ways. In the phonological difference, we have the different pronunciation just And we have another example mentioned in the lexical difference. We have the lexical of the meaning of the words, but have the same. In the syntax difference, we have the rules of the make the sentence. Can you have anyone have any question about the difference from the dialects?
And we can say that we have differences between dialects in grammar, in vocabulary, in pronunciation, and in what? Then differences, pronunciation, vocabulary,
Lexical.
rules. لكن these
Yes.
differences are ايش؟ يعني do they make kind of effect?
Sometimes the phonological do not.
يعني they don't change what?
They won't change the meaning.
The language itself. It is what we can say. It has what we call minor effect. Minor, يعني not major effect. لأنه إذا if we compare this with the totality of the grammar of the language, this could be what? Minor differences.
The minor of the.
But most of the what? Most parts of the language share similarities. أو direct share similarities. بس بضل عندنا إيش? Small differences. Okay. Although the small differences, they are not إيش very important. To make what? To make the language unintelligible. Okay. Although we have these differences, but these differences are minor or small differences, but they don't hinder understanding what the people's when the people talk. Okay. Are you done, Daniel? You are.
Yes, Dr. Dania.
You are done?
Yes, Doctor. I done my presentation.
Okay. في حدا بده يعمل كمان presentation? Any other people who would like to make a presentation?
Doctor? How can you see my presentation and evaluate it?
Yes, it's good. It's good. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. يعني في حدا ضل عنده presentation؟ في ناس بدهم يعملوا presentation؟ يعني راح يكون اليوم تقريبا آخر يوم في presentation إذا في حدا. Okay. طيب أنا بكمل. The other topics here in this chapter. We started with the dialect atlases. وفي هنا dialectal maps. هنا dialect atlases of regions. هنا في عندنا these shows dialect differences طبعا are geographically plotted. يعني it differs according to the area. You see here we have the map of languages here of dialects. So here we can see the places where users or where speakers use one word or another word for the same item. Then one word or another word for the same item. لكن على مدار ايش قلنا؟ Phonological differences. Okay?
Yes, phonological.
For example, في عندنا area اسمها Dutch cheese. There is a small what we call pocket, mostly the West Virginia. And
yes,
the term. Speakers use the term. Or what other speakers call smear case.
Smear case.
Yes, smear case. In a similar maps, areas were differentiated based on the variation in the pronunciation of the same word. Then في عندنا map ايش؟ بتوضح differences based on ايش؟ on variation in pronunciation of the same word. يعني ممكن the same word is pronounced differently what by people. مثلا crick and crick for a creek. Crick for a creek for a creek. Okay. إذا في عندنا two different في عندنا variation in pronunciation the same word. Like creek, crick. So here we say concentration defined by different words choices والpronunciation بيعملوا عبارة عن direct areas. Direct areas يعني areas where dialects are what? Are used.
Are used.
Yes. So we have to draw a line on the map in the areas which is called isogloss. مثلا when you cross an isogloss you are passing from one direct area to another. إذن isogloss يعني passing from one direct area to another. Sometimes يصير عندنا several dialects أو نسميهم isoglosses coincide يعني come together. هنا في عندنا political boundary أو في عندنا natural boundary. إذا كان زي natural مثلا عندنا river مثلا mountain range. طبعا الانجلش شو بيسموه call these ايش؟ grouping يسموهم bundle of isoglosses. Bundle of isoglosses. And هذول bundle of isoglosses can define a regional dialect. مثلا عندنا DARE is acronym for the Dictionary of American Regional Dialects. إذا DARE مأخوذ من دي هون dictionary والهون American A والR regional والE English. طبعا الأوديتور تبعه American diacriticist called Ghastly. طبعا هذا الwork represents decades of research and scholarship by Cassidy and other American diacritists. Then Cassidy made what we call American dialectology, okay? Dialectology, the علم dialectology. And this what could be used by other people who are interested in this topic. هنا هذا اللي عنه الدكشنري حكينا عنه American Regional Dialect عبارة عن reference tool. شو الايم تبعه؟ not to prescribe how Americans should speak or even describe a language we use generally, the standard language. Instead, it seeks to document the varieties of English that are not found everywhere in the United States. شو وظيفة الدكشنري؟ not to prescribe يعني not ask people how to speak, but it seeks to document the varieties of English. طبعا في عندنا different varieties of English in different areas and different areas. يعني هنا نعمل documenting, dictionary بيعمل documenting the varieties of English that are not found everywhere in the United States. طبعا those words بقصد فيهم pronunciation of words with phrases that vary from one region to another that we learn
at home rather than
school. These are what learned when at home, not at school.
Yes.
أو نقدر نعتبرهم part of our oral rather than our written culture. إذا these varieties بالpronunciation words نعتبرها عبارة عن part of our oral اللي هو speaking rather than written
culture.
So
yes, it's part of our oral rather than our writing culture.
Yes. ونعرف إنه الإنجليش is homogeneous in the country like America, for example. If we look at the big size of the country, then many thousands of differences that characterize the vast direct regions of the United States. Then the United States is very big. In different areas or different regions, والregions كلها لهم ايش different dialects. فأنا هنا بالحالة هاي اللي حكينا عن الدكشنري of American Regional English بيجمع كل هاي ايش الشغلات فيه اللي هو ايش بيعمل ريكورد لايش للديفرنت differences between the dialects of what اللي بنسميها regional dialects in what in America. اوكي هاي بالنسبة للأتلس دايركت or direct atlas هي عبارة عن ماب أو ديكشنري تحدد وين ايش الارياز والديفرنت ايش dialects.
dialects.
اوكي هذه
دكتور.
question بس؟
لا دكتور، هذا الشابتر الأخير اللي حناخده خلال الفصل.
لا مش راح نكمله هذا، يعني كان وصل اليوم لحد نص اليوم بكون داخل الامتحان وغيره لا.
يعني اليوم آخر محاضرة.
أعتقد إذا في يوم الثلاثاء في عندكم أسئلة يسألون يوم الثلاثاء أي أسئلة معينة.
دكتور حتدخل مادة المد شو اسمه بالفاينل؟
المد هي داخل بس مش يعني مش راح يكون فيها أسئلة، تركز الأسئلة بعد المد. أوكي.
دكتور لأن المادة كتير كبيرة.
لا قلت لك يعني مش راح أجيب يعني أسئلة يعني، وإذا جيت تجيب سؤال مش نجيبه من أول جزء زي شابتر 1 شابتر 2، يكون التركيز على شابتر 3 4 و7 7 ولا 8 عندنا 7 أخذناهم بعد الميد تيرم. اوكي
تمام، يعني الشابتر 1 وشابتر 2 مو ريفيجن، كويك ريفيجن.
ما فيهوش اسئله يعني، اصلا جبت الاسئله كلها ما ضلش فيها اجيب منه اسئله، عرفتي؟ فجيب من باقي الشابتر اللي غطيناهم بعد الامتحان ميد تيرم.
يعني ما نركز بدراستنا كتير على مادة شو اسمه اللي أخذناها
بس اخذناها بعد الميد تيرم. لو
تمام.
شابتر 3 طالع. اوكي.
اوكي دكتور.
اذا هنا بنحكي عن السوشيال دايركتس، في عندنا سوشيال باوندريز وكلاس ديفرنسز. وهنا في عندنا فيزيكال باريرز، فيزيكال يعني زي ما قلنا ممكن يكون ريفر، ممكن يكون ماونتنز اند سو اون. اذا في عندنا different dialects of language within a social group، نفس السوشيال جروبس في عندنا differences بالdialects. اوكي. في عندنا بنسميهم social boundaries، يعني بختلفوا طبعا عن ايش؟ عن الفيزيكال boundaries. وانا شو بتعمل هاي السوشيال باوندريز؟ طبعا within the classes of the society بيعملوا ايش؟ variation. وين؟ بالدايلكت بيعملوا دايلكت variation. ممكن يكون هذا depend on socio-economic status، ممكن تكون religion، ممكن تكون ethnic and racial difference، ممكن يكون country of origin، ممكن يكون gender. يعني differences بالسوشيال كلاسز حكينا عنهم، بالسوشيال aspect of social directs. طبعا differences بتعود شغلات كثير زي قلنا socio-economic status، religious، ethnic والracial differences، country of origin وحتى الجندر. اوكي. مثلا عندنا الميدل كلاس امريكان والبريتش سبيكرز عاده شو بيكونوا distinguishable from working class speakers، يعني بيناتهم differences طبعا بايش؟ بالدايركت تبعتهم. مثلا بغداد في عندنا الكريستيان والمسلم والجويش جروبس، شو بيعملوا كلهم؟ speak different varieties of Arabic. بإنديا people برضو use different dialects of standard regional language، مثل الهندي والجوجراتي. بنغالي برضو نفس الشيء بنغلاديش depending on the social caste، the social class they belong to. بأمريكا many speakers of African descent speak different dialects than those from Europe. إذا برضو الإيشيا والهسبانيك والديسنت women ومن برضو have their own distinguished speech characters. إذا بنلاحظ هنا في عندنا differences بالدايركتس حسب ايش؟ زي مثلا قلنا بغداد مثلا عندك الكريستيان المسلم حسب الدين، هنا حسب الريليجن في عندنا they speak different varieties of Arabic. بإنديا بيحكوا حسب الريجنال لانجوج، يستخدموا الهندي والججراتي. بنغلاديش بيعتمدوا على ايش؟ على السوشيال كلاس، برضه الدايركت تختلف حسب السوشيال كلاس. بامريكا السود طبعا الافريكان امريكان لهم برضه different dialect than those from Europe وايجا او الهسبانيك ديسنت. برضه في كمان عندنا difference بالدايركت حسب الجندر، women and men برضه لهم ايش؟ their own distinguishing speech characteristics. اوكي. اذا هون الديفرنسز between dialects تعتمد على عده عوامل. اول شيء السوشيو ايكونومي قلنا، بعدين قلنا religion، قلنا الاثنيسيتي، racial differences، قلنا برضه country of origin والجندر. وهاي الفرايتيز ودايركت تعتمد على هاي العوامل. اوكي. إذا شو بنسميهم هذول هنا؟ dialectal differences. طبعا اللي يسووهم social factors نسميهم ايش؟ social dialects. اوكي؟ إذا شو سبب السوشيال dialects؟ هي عبارة عن social factors حكينا عنهم قبل شوي. بيختلف طبعا عن الريجنال dialects. الريجن طبعا حسب الريجن، يعني الديفرنس تكون من ريجن لريجن تختلف الدايركت. بينما هون في عندنا سوشيال دايركتس حسب ايش؟ حسب قلنا حسب الريليجن، حسب الريس، حسب الاثنيسيتي، حسب the place where you come from او الجندر. اوكي؟ اذا هون في عندنا distinction between regional dialects، في عندنا social dialects. اذا عرفنا شو الريجن شو السوشيال dialects. Any question about this؟
No, دكتور.
اوكي. في عندنا الستاندرد، نشوف الستاندرد دايركتس. طب نعرف انه اللانجوج consists of ايش؟ dialects. Many people talk and think about language as if it were well-defined fixed system with various dialects deriving or diverging from this norm. Then we know that people or language has different dialects. When people speak this language كأنها ايش؟ well-defined fixed system with different ايش؟ dialects. طبعا هو الدرس منين بيجوا؟ من اللانجوج. diverging from ايش؟ from the norm له language. طبعا this claim is ايش؟ false. يعني it's not correct. Okay. One writer of books on language accused the editors of Webster's third new international dictionary published one for confusing to the point of what? Of obliteration the older distinction between standard, substandard, colloquial, vulgar, and slang. Okay. إذا تصنيف هاي الدايلكت حسب ويبستر ثيرد نيو انترناشونال ديكشنري طبعا اعتبر هذا التصنيف فولس از نوت كوريكت. ليش؟ لأنه بيعمل confusing distinction between standard dialects, substandard, colloquial, vulgar, and slang. أنا هنا بصنفوا هاي إيش؟ good أو bad أو right and wrong، correct و incorrect. طبعا هاي التسميات اللي هي good إنه هاي مثلا الدارج good وهاي bad، أو هاي right وهاي wrong وهاي correct وهاي incorrect. طبعا هاي التصنيفات هاي did not إيش؟ do not exist now. Okay? do not exist now. ليش؟ لأنه these dialects are not classified according whether they are مثلا bad or right, wrong or good or bad, right or wrong, correct or incorrect. These are not a good classification of languages of dialects. Okay. Any question about this so far?
No, دكتور.
Okay. إذا بكل امتحان عندنا أحد language purists هون. Okay.
The standard.
هذا طبعا مش كل الشابتر بس لحد هون لحد ما وصلنا. Okay. Any question? Do you have any question? Okay. If you don't have any questions, so we stop here today. And see you in the exam.